What's up, guys? It is 3:43 p.m. on Tuesday, August 27th, 17 minutes before the official cut day deadline around the NFL, and the Browns have made their 53-man roster, at least the initial 53-man roster official. A couple pretty big surprises, mainly one that caught my eye, but we're going to run through it real quick, go over who made the cut, who didn't make the cut, and why they decided to make some of these decisions as quickly as we can. We'll try to keep this under 15 minutes. But let's start with the 11 players the Browns waived. This was from their 90-man roster, cutting down to the 53-man roster. There will still be more moves, some waiver claims, some potential trades. That'll all happen in the coming days, really leading up to the Dallas game on September 10th. But the 11 players the Browns waived: Juwan Briggs, Amian Brown, Jalen Darden, Christopher Edwards, Siaki Ika, Sam Kamara, Zaire Mitchell-Patton, Winston Reed, Lorenzo Thompson, Trayton Welch, and Michael Woods II. Next up, you look at the contracts that were terminated: Tony Brown, Deonta Foreman, that's a surprise, Justin Hardy Jr., who had $600,000 in guaranteed money, a Cleveland native, a special teams ace. He was let go. Same with Jermaine Ifedi and James Prochet. Michael Dunn was placed on the injured reserved non-football injury list. The same with Naheem Hines, was also placed on the reserve non-football injury list. Nick Chubb on the PUP list. Luke Whippler on the injured reserve list. Michael Hall on the commissioner's exempt list, which means the Browns are keeping 4 quarterbacks. Watson, Winston, DTR, and Huntley all make the cut. It would be surprising. I shouldn't say certainly, but it would be very surprising if the Browns kept all 4 quarterbacks on their active roster for the game 1 when the season kicks off against Dallas. But for right now, Andrew Berry still believes there is trade value out there, and that is why he decided to keep 4 quarterbacks. To make room for the 4 quarterbacks, they're only keeping 2 running backs on the active roster: Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong. Deonta Foreman has been let go, which means the Browns will almost certainly be in the market for an extra running back to help out against the Dallas Cowboys, really until Nick Chubb returns to the field. Earliest that can happen, week 5, because he's on the PUP list. But we heard from Zach Jackson today, it looks a little more like mid to late October is a more realistic return date. But only 2 running backs on the roster. 6 receivers made the cut: David Bell, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Jamari Thrash, and Cedric Tillman. So Thrash, the 5th-round rookie with a strong training camp and preseason, he has officially made the early 53-man roster. We knew it was going to be 2 tight ends after Giovanni Ricci was injured earlier this camp. It's Akins, it's Njoku. That was easy money. 10 offensive linemen make the cut: Joel Bitonio, Jack Conklin, Javian Cohen, Nick Harris, James Hudson, DeJuan Jones, Ethan Pochich, Wyatt Teller, Jed Wills, and Zach Zinter. So Cohen, the undrafted rookie out of Miami, makes the initial 53-man roster. To make room for Cohen, well, that happened because Mike Hall is on the commissioner's exempt list. The Browns keeping 9 defensive linemen: Myles Garrett, Shelby Harris, Mo Hurst, Quentin Jefferson, Isaiah McGuire, Agbo Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Alex Wright. So 9 defensive linemen, 5 ends, 4 tackles. They're keeping 6 linebackers: Devin Bush, Mohamed Diabate, Tony Fields, Jordan Hicks, JOK, and 7th-round rookie Nathaniel Watson has made the initial 53-man roster. Nice pickup there for the Browns with a 7th-round pick. He's not the only 7th-round pick to make the Browns roster, because Miles Harden also is one of the 11 defensive backs sticking around for now. He'll be joining DeAnthony Bell, Grant Delpit, MJ Emerson, Khalif Halassi, Miles Harden, who we mentioned, Ronnie Hickman, Ronnie McLeod, Cameron Mitchell, Greg Newsome, Juan Thornhill, and Denzel Ward, giving you 11 defensive backs. And then the 3 specialists we knew were going to stick around: Corey Gorkez, Dustin Hopkins, and Charlie Hewlett. So big takeaways immediately. First and foremost, Deonta Foreman being let go. I did not have that on my bingo card. We had a topic on today's Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show of, do the Browns need more running back help? And all 3 panelists and Zach Jackson from The Athletic, who joined us, said, I think the Browns will be okay until Nick Chubb comes back with the trio of Ford, Strong, and Foreman. The Browns obviously feeling otherwise. I'm curious how much of the rib injury Foreman sustained it played a factor in their decision to terminate that contract and look for help elsewhere. Also with Naheem Hines not making the active roster because he's still on the PUP list, how much the Browns are looking for another return guy, because James Prochet did it last year. Jalen Darden had some attempts in the preseason. Both those guys were waived or had their contracts terminated. Foreman had a shot at it against Seattle, one return, 25 yards, but certainly not a bona fide return man. So I'm curious if they'll look for a return option on waivers who could also play a little bit of running back. The other names who were cut, Darden to be expected. Edmonds was expected. Siaki Ika, their third-round pick from a year ago, one and done with the Browns. He had a strong, he did not have a strong showing in the preseason after being a non-factor completely last year for the Cleveland Browns. He barely was active, was only active for 4 games. So tough to have any real thoughts on him, but he had a weak preseason, and that defensive tackle's position is loaded. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ika back on the practice squad. The same goes for Sam Kamara, who had a strong preseason and training camp, unlike Ika, but just the numbers game, guys. And when you're going to keep 4 quarterbacks, and that's the main takeaway here, 4 quarterbacks, you have to sacrifice depth at somewhere else. And they're keeping 10 offensive linemen, so it wasn't there. It probably would have been 10 defensive linemen, but Michael Hall is on the commissioner's exempt list, so you're not getting it there. 11 defensive backs, 6 linebackers. You know, it came out of the running back room, and that is how Deonta Foreman was the odd man out in this situation. The other names, notable, Justin Hardy, who they signed this offseason as a special teams ace, a Cleveland native. The way his contract was structured, I thought he was going to make the team, I'll be honest. Just by the way his contract is structured, most of his money was guaranteed up front, but I guess they felt comfortable enough in Miles Harden and Khalif Halasse and their special teams contributions to make a guy like Justin Hardy an expendable person on this roster. Jermaine Ifedi had a chance to blow the Browns away by playing left tackle against Seattle last week. It wasn't enough. He is on the chopping block now, going to go through waivers. The former first-round pick was beat out by James Hudson in training camp. Also, I don't see Hakeem Adeniji on here anyway. Did I miss his name? Give me one sec. He was hurt, and I know he's out for a while, so I guess they just keep him on the injured list until he's healthy enough. But the Browns trimming the roster from 90 to 53. I would say for the most part, this was pretty status quo. I don't think there's any major shocks. Foreman's definitely the one that catches my eye. Michael Woods got beat out by Jamari Thrash. They'll try to get him back on the practice squad. The guys who I would assume the Browns are very eager to try to get back on the practice squad, Jawan Briggs, their 7th-round pick. Ika, I'm not sure if they're eager, but they would take him. Kamara, Zaire Mitchell-Payton, Michael Woods for sure. Those 4 guys come to mind as the guys they're most looking to bring back. But all in all, this kind of went as expected for the Browns. I just can't believe they kept 4 quarterbacks. I'm shocked. And to me, it indicates that Andrew Berry believes there's trade value in Tyler Huntley or Jameis Winston. One of those two will get some sort of significant enough return, and the return on whatever trade the Browns make from their quarterback room will outweigh the benefits of keeping some of the other guys on the roster. And that 5th or 6th round pick, 7th round pick, whatever the Browns get, Andrew Berry must believe is a more valuable asset than keeping a guy like Siaki Ika or Jawan Briggs or Deonta Foreman on the roster for. So all in all, it's a strong roster. The Browns have depth at almost every position outside of running back. I don't love the idea of just having Ford and Strong on the first initial 53-man roster, but you have to remember this is just the initial 53-man roster. The 53 players that they bring into week 1 against Dallas will not be the exact 53 you see right here. So leave some comments. We'll address them tomorrow on the show. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. This was a little immediate reaction, 10-minute stream to the Browns 53-man roster. I'll go over real quick one more time. The main names that were cut: Deonta Foreman, leaving just Ford and Pierre Strong as the 2 running backs. Justin Hardy Jr., the special teams ace, did not make the 53-man roster. Jamari Thrash and David Bell beat out Michael Woods, Sam Kamara, and Siaki Ika, both hoping to make it back on the practice squad. The Browns keeping 4 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 6 receivers, 2 tight ends, 10 offensive linemen, 9 defensive linemen, 6 linebackers, 11 defensive backs, and 3 specialists. And one last thing to point out, you talk about finding talent at all points in the draft. The Browns have 2 7th-round picks and an undrafted rookie who made the 53-man initial roster in Miles Harden, the defensive back, in Javion Cohen, the offensive lineman, and Nathaniel Watson, the linebacker. Appreciate you guys tuning into this super quick instant reaction to the Browns roster cut down, and we'll talk about it in depth way more tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. See you then. Peace.